All right, everyone. Well, we left off yesterday with me asking you a question, or I guess it was really three questions. If you were, if someone takes a picture, who owns it? What if it's a picture of someone, or something that belongs to someone else? What if someone takes a picture of you? Who owns it? And they share it. And then, what if an animal, say maybe your pet or some random animal for the zoo, make something or were to take a picture? Who owns it? So, does anyone have any thoughts about ownership in those regards? We can look at each question at a time. So, if you take a picture, who owns it? So you take a picture of me, who owns it? Who owns the picture?
Gonna be
Yes.
yourself.
You said yourself?
Yeah, but wouldn't you have to still give credit to the person like who you took the picture of?
Okay. So, she said it should be yourself. So the person that took the picture should be the one with ownership, but you should still give credit to the person you took a picture of. Okay. So ethically, that is actually that's the correct answer. Legally, do you need to give credit to the person you took a picture of?
No, you don't.
No, no, you don't. Unless if it's a minor, then you have to have special forms to sign, but you don't. And that's a very strange concept when you really think about it, right? Um, how many of you would be okay if someone just came around and took pictures of you and then posted them online? Now there are certain legalities. If I were to take a picture of someone and I were to say they were doing XYZ, even though the picture doesn't show that, but it could slander them, then that could be an issue. But you can take a picture of someone and it belongs to you. You take a picture of anything and it belongs to you. The person that created the art or the media is the one that owns it. So you taking that picture, you own it. But go to the second question. If someone took a picture of you, who owns it? It goes back to that person that took it still owns it. But as one of you all pointed out, I believe it was Chantel, but as was pointed out, that's probably not the best ethical thing to do. You should ask for permission, probably before you take the picture, and even afterwards. Is it okay for me to share this in such rights? If it's going to be something that would possibly give you money as well, then you definitely want to um, have written permission, so you have some kind of legal contract saying that, hey, they told me it was okay to use that image. Now, um, what if your pet took a picture or made some kind of art, or yeah, who owned that? So you own the
Uh,
pet. Mhm.
I think that you would own the art because the pet's considered property. So,
Okay, so you own the art because the pet is your property. All right. Then what about a free range animal or an animal that's like at a zoo? Who would own that then if they made it?
The zoo?
Okay. Does anyone disagree with that? No? Okay. I'm gonna go to something that Martin said in his reply, and that was that they're your property. You're right, they are your property. But in order to have a copyright, you have to be a human. So if an animal of any kind, any animal, doesn't matter if it belongs to you or belongs to the zoo or is a public animal, no matter what the animal is, if they make something and it's like an artwork or they took a picture or whatever, even if they did it on accident, um, it is public domain. And what I mean by public domain is that anyone can use it, and it's free for anyone to use any fashion they want. Now, within the public domain, the only things that are created by humans, because there are some, are those that the government creates. They usually have all their stuff go to public domain. So any pictures that NASA takes is in the public domain, meaning you could use it at any time if you wanted to. Um, the only other things are of people that have died, and then it's been 70 years after their death. That goes into the public domain. The only other way for anything to get into public domain is through the government, honestly, signing off on it. Even if you say, hey, it's okay for people to freely use this, that's you put a certain license on it that allows people to know that. But that license automatically has a by distribution on it, which means that you have to give credit to the source you got it from. So if an animal makes it, or if you make a robot that does something, or if you program your computer to take pictures at random times, an AI were to write a great graphic novel or something, it's public domain. No one owns it. No one owns the rights to it. No matter how much money you put towards the thing that created it or what, no one owns it. Now this is I think those like the most famous case of this was there's an elephant that would do these tricks where it would paint pictures of people, and it would be pretty nice pictures. It would look at the person, it pick up the brush, would brush with his trunk, and it would paint pictures. This is pretty cool, right? And people were selling these, like the owners of the elephant, they were selling them to people, and then someone took a picture of the elephant doing it because they didn't want to purchase the art, and then the owners got mad. They took a picture of the elephant and they put it up online and stuff. And then try to make sure I get the story completely correct. But then when they found out the picture, they got mad. The owners of the elephant got mad. There was a picture taken of the elephant, and came to that person, and they talked about some things, and it went to court, and they told them how that person owned the image, so it was their right to post it however they wanted. And then they said, but in regards to your elephant making these pictures, you legally can't even really be selling these, because anything the elephant makes is public. Now, because they own the art or the pieces that the elephant was drawn on and stuff, there was some pay there. But what they found out was that any image that an elephant created would be in the public domain, and that was what the Supreme Court had ruled because it was not a human being. And then there was another case with like a chimpanzee would it grabbed someone's camera and took pictures of them. And I think that was at a zoo as well. And the guy posted those pictures online, and because he wasn't the one that took them, the zoo was like, "Hey, that belongs to us, because our chimpanzee is the one that took those pictures." And he's like, "They're pictures of me, and it's my camera, and he took it from me and took those pictures." And it was the same thing in the end. They're like, well, the chimpanzee is not human, so those are public domain for anyone to use. So when I say public domain too, just so you guys can kind of know where that is, if you were to type in public domain into Google, usually there's a wiki that you can get to. Yeah. And this usually talks about this talks about the different mediums or media that are in the public domain and gives a little history and the law behind it. I'm trying to go to Wiki Commons. I think it is Wiki Commons. There it is, Wiki Commons. So, if you go to Wiki Commons or commons.wikimedia, all of these images are in the public domain, meaning you are free to use them however you like. And some people still give can't think of the word for it, but some people still give attribution to the person that originally created it. You technically don't even have to do that. If you are into music and you want to build some beats, this is the place usually to come for that. Again, because it is completely open for anyone to use freely. So, yeah, so tons of images and photos in there. A lot of times, programmers will like to go through here to look for certain images because you can even get certain sizes and things like that changed here. But as you can see, there's tons and tons of different things that are in the public domain here. So, yeah. Okay. Another thing I mentioned was that you could still allow yourself to be used by anyone using a Creative Commons license. That's actually how this course was created. It's an open educational resource. What that means is that it is open for anyone to use this material. Doesn't even have to be in the education range. That's just what open educational resources are generally for. But you can pull any resources that you want that are OER, or open educational resources, and they have a Creative Commons license on them. And you just have to follow that licensing. And so, and go to, because I know it came up in the search here, but I'm just going to go to Creative Commons. And let you guys take a look at these licenses. So there's 4 different types of attributions you can have, and so there's 6 different licenses that you have in total because there's combinations of them. So the whole point of these is to allow anyone to take these and know how to use them officially. So the first one is the basic one. It's CC BY. The CC just stands for Creative Commons, meaning the commons part is that it's common for anyone to use. The creative part is because it was a creative work that was created. So Creative Commons, and then BY is your by distribution. So you need to just say, hey, I'm going to give credit to the person that I originally got this material from. So if something had this license, so if I wrote something and I had this license here, you could use it however you want it, but you just had to give me credit for it. Similar to what was mentioned earlier about, like, if you took a picture of someone, ethically it's probably best to do that. But in this case, there will be a law with that. So you guys can actually use, well, while we're going through these, you can think about these as well, because you can add these licenses to things that you create for classes. Of course, you want to make sure it's your own original work, or it also has a license. If something that you use already has a license, you must at least have that same license. For instance, if it's like the material in this course is was OER, so if I got something for someone and it has this BY license, I give them credit, one, and you'll see that throughout the course. But 2, I at minimum have to do a Creative Commons BY as well on that material. So even if I make changes to it, which you're allowed to with this license, I can make changes to it, but I still have to give credit to the original. So I'm allowed to send it out. I'm allowed to change it up, maybe advance it, because this is a class on computer information systems. Things will change over time, and I can add to it. I can subtract from it. I can do all of that with this license. Share alike, so BYSA. So the share alike part, what that does is you have to share it exactly with these. Well, you have to share it with the same license that was given there. And any time that you make changes to it and maybe you sell it again, it still has to have that same license. So that's what share alike is. That's how Wikipedia does things. The reason they do that is so that if something was completely free, like if I, like for instance, if I started selling the material I got as a textbook, well, if I had a share alike and it said that I couldn't sell it for anything, which we'll see what that is in a second, then I can't turn around and start selling this for profit. So ND stands for no derivatives. Derivatives is a term for changes. So if I get something that has this license, that means I can't make changes to it. I can use it however I like and reuse it, but I can't make changes to it. I can't add or subtract to it. Yeah. And NC is non-commercial. Non-commercial is a license that means you can't use things commercially. And what commercial means is that you can't make money off of it. So I can't use it for sales to gain a profit. Now if I were to create a work and then put this license on it, I, as the original creator, can still sell it for profit. Anyone else after me cannot. And those 4 are the prefixes that are used. So you have BY, SA, ND, and NC, and then you have combinations of those. Those last 2 combinations are if you have BY, NC, SA, and BY, NC, ND. Okay. And then so the reason for doing in combinations would be if you wanted to share alike, but you don't want people to make money off of it. And you want to make sure that they continue to not try to make money off of it. This is very common now because it freely allows someone to take material that you created and change it up. But if you wanted it to be free, now it's forced to always be for free. Something that you created will always have to be for free because of the share alike part on it. Okay. So you guys can actually add these to your assignments when you turn them in if you want. So when you do your e-portfolio and things moving forward, you can add these licenses in. And so pretty much to do that, it's pretty simple. I can click view legal code and it gives me all the jargon for it. Where is it at? Oh, move it. Look at this one here too. We used to have it where you could just copy and paste the information directly onto your directly onto there it is. Guess they did move it. So if you wanted to use one of these, you would pretty much select what it is that you want. Because I had come from the BY NCSA non-commercial share alike that was available here. Click preview, and then I could copy this onto a website if I was using it. And I could, or in this case, it just gets embedded into your web page. There are other ways for you to get this as well, but this is usually the fastest way. So if you save something as a web page, which we'll see later in this course, but I can show you how to at least do it for this if you ever wanted to use this. Some people have literally, there's some other legal code that you can get, and they have literally just copied it from there and pasted it on the end of their files. But this is all you would need to do. And you know what? I'll just show you guys what this looks like real quick. So I copied this, and I'm gonna edit my Canvas web page here. And this is that embedded stuff that you saw earlier. Let's save it. So I just copied and pasted that directly in here. And at the bottom, notice here. Okay. I'm gonna get rid of that though, because I can't this already has a license based off where I got the original source from. So I don't want to get in trouble. I'll just give it a demonstration. All right. Does anyone have any questions about that? About the public domain or the Creative Commons? Or about the legalities of like your animal takes a picture and stuff like that? You don't have any questions? Comments?
So we would use those licenses when using other like websites or something like that?
You would use those licenses in your own creation of something. And you would use it if you ever use someone else's materials that had those licenses. You would have to. Like for instance, like I said, within this class is set to be Creative Commons as well. It's CC BY NCSA actually, because that was the most restrictive license that at least one thing that I used had. So I had to use that same one for the overall thing. But if you were just creating your own work, period, you don't have to put these licenses on there, but you can, and that would allow people, if they ever saw your stuff, saw your materials, you're allowing them to use it freely, but they have to give you credit for it. Okay? Like, so they also wouldn't even have to ask for permission anymore because you already have that license on there. That's another reason sometimes people do it, especially if they're okay with anyone using something. They put a Creative Commons license on it so that way people don't have to keep asking them for permission. And then the other part about that is if you don't have that license, let's say you make something, I say, hey, I really like what you did with this. Can I use it for something? You say, oh, sure. Then the next I use it and then I use it again, the second time, you're like, hey, I never gave you permission for that. I'm suing. Because you didn't. You just gave me permission to use it. I didn't ask you how many times or anything. So, but if there's a Creative Commons license on that, I don't have to worry about that. And so that's why people generally will either make their own stuff, or they'll go to a public domain, a site that contains a bunch of things that are in the public domain, or they'll just look for the Creative Commons license, because you can search for those as well. I'll search to see if they're on things. For instance, I'm gonna go to YouTube. See, I'm just gonna type in math stuff, a filter, and look at one of the features on the filter here, Creative Commons. So I'm saying I only want things that have a Creative Commons license on them, and I'll even see that on these CC. So yeah, so it's so commonly used that it's a filter within YouTube already. If I was to Google search, I'm trying to think of something that be cool. Avengers, yeah. And I wanted to do an advanced search. What I could do here, and it's at the bottom, I could say I only want to look for things that have Creative Commons licenses. Like if I had to do a research paper on Avengers or something, this is how I could do that. And then everything that's on here, well, everything that comes up as a result should have a license on it that allows me to use it creatively. So the Creative Commons license. All right. But those are two ways that I personally would use it in my own life. And when you guys are doing projects for school, you may grab an image off of a site. A lot of times people do that and don't think anything of it. Well, you could actually get in trouble for that, right? Especially if it doesn't have, if it's copyrighted and it doesn't have a license on it that allows you to do so, even if you could credit to someone. Now, generally speaking, no one's going to get mad at you for doing so, right? No one's going to come after you to sue for using a picture off their site, especially if you did give them credit. But it's still illegal for you to do unless you see that license on there. So that's part of the reason why I go over this, especially within this class, because when, for instance, I ask, you guys did the reflections throughout this week so far, and as you continue doing different projects in this course, you may see a way that someone does something online, or you may see the way that they worded something, and you just copy and paste it. And maybe you just put like, oh yeah, this came from this person, this website, and it's cited and everything, right? So for educational purposes, you have some leeway. There is a law that allows you to do some things as educational fair use. However, it does not fully allow you to just take it and put it there and cite it and call it done. Sometimes that's still not allowed. So it's always best to go look for Creative Commons things. Like if you need an image of a flower, why just type flower into Google when you can type flower into Google and say I want something that has a Creative Commons license, right? It's much safer for you that way. Regardless if your work is just being turned in for a grade. There are some other things with the education theme, because when it first came out, it was only for in the classroom. Well, no one's in the classroom now, and they even had to make a new rule for stuff with online, but for online classes. But they are very particular about that too, and it's all under fair use. And fair use does not legally hold up in court ever. So sometimes there's like this talk of, and I usually ask this as a question in class, like, that was a great oldie song my mom used to listen to. So I took the first 6 seconds of it and made an album with Kanye. And I say that because Kanye West used to sample like everything. His first couple albums, probably still does now actually. But it was cool, and a lot of artists believe that that's what you do. I can take the first 6 seconds and be okay. Well, legally you can't. If you take 1 second of it, it doesn't hold. It is illegal. Now people will do so under a fair use, And the fair use, the rules for fair use are that it has to be a new creative work. Like it can't have the same meaning as the original, or it can't harbor it, or can't go against it. So if a song was about loving someone with a certain name or whatever, and I took that same song with the same name, I would have to give it a parody or some kind of different meaning so that I could use it under fair use. But even if I do, and they took me to court, there's still a chance I will lose. Fair use cannot hold up in court. A lot of times people try to use fair use a lot, especially in the media. So whether that be song or within the news or whatever, it happens. It happens a lot. So funny story about that. There was a couple of news articles with especially with when the pandemic first occurred, with like videos that news would put up with different things going on at certain cities and things, with people freaking out, and it was discovered that some of those videos had been recycled, meaning they had been used multiple times, because that news station owned those videos, so they could just reuse them however they wanted. But some did not. They took some offline and tried to use fair use for it, because they did give a parody of it. They were lying to the public and saying that, oh, this is all going on right now in the pandemic, and it was things like, some of it was from like 9/11, or some of it was from other riots from like years ago, but they were using that as footage to cause panic among the people. But they got away with it under fair use in that case because it was, oh, it's for a different reason. It didn't go against the original meaning because it was brand new, because it was a lie. But yeah, so yeah. How do you all feel about copyright infringement and the idea of fair use, and the idea that someone takes a picture of you, they own it? How do you guys feel about that?
I've kind of personally accepted that, like anything like we do as far as like online content that you throw out there, or just anything in general to do with technology, I've just kind of like accepted the fact that we truly don't own it, and like there's not enough rules, like you say, to make any like change to that, to like where we have like more security, I guess. And I don't know if that will like ever change. Like we've had technology around for how long, and we like you say, like someone can just take a photo of you on like the street, and like technically like that's okay. So I've just kind of like accepted the fact that it's like, like, okay, take a picture of me, you can have it, have fun or whatever, like I don't care, but some people it like really bothers them, and I think there should be like more laws and more things to implement to have like security.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything to say on that, or disagree? It's okay. Completely open atmosphere here, so. Okay. Yeah. Honestly, normally this does lead into a debate within the class. Because some people, I love how you answer it, because I feel like you really hit both sides of it. A lot of people have come to accept it as a norm, that, well, it is what it is. We can't do anything about it. And other people see it as as an infraction, that there has to be some law somewhere against this, because it's not right. And that's where that ethics comes into play too. Ethically speaking, we probably would think, oh, I really shouldn't be just taking pictures of anyone. That's not cool, right? But it's gotten to that point where it is, as you said, there's so much around you all the time that you just don't think about it. Now, if you do put things up online that you created, it does belong to you. So if you ever want to, if someone uses it, puts it on there, like you have put a picture up on Instagram and someone like reshares it on their Facebook page or something, if they downloaded it and then did that, then you can say something. If it links back directly to yours, honestly, they are. That's another weird one with embedding things. For instance, all these YouTube videos that you'll see throughout this course are embedded. There's a reason why I embed it, because it's legal for me to do so, even if they don't have a Creative Commons license on it. I always try my best to get some that are, but there are some that don't have any in here. But by me embedding it, I am not taking away from their YouTube counts of views. I'm not taking away from them at all. In fact, the fact that it's embedded or links as well gives complete ownership still to the original person. I am just a pointer to a source. I'm not using it in any way. That's the legal jargon with that. So there's all these like loopholes around stuff too that people seem to kind of get around. But one thing I always like to ask with this is, how do you guys feel that these? What about traffic and security cameras? So those companies that own those, they are the ones that own those, like, that footage. So if you're like in a grocery store or something, that belongs to them. The security, I'm assuming, is, or not security, the traffic cameras, I'm assuming technically would be the city. But that's why those get to be used. I believe that's called the CCC, or it's like maybe CVC or something. But they have record of all these different things, and you can go to them. Like if you're a private detective or the cops, they call that group and they can go in and look for. They can literally trail a person across the city, and it helps them. It helps out the cops and stuff. But honestly, if anyone had a right to or a need for that, they could actually use that to sort of track someone down. It's actually kind of crazy, but it's completely legal for them to do. So they own those. So if they take photos of you and stuff, they own it. You can't say anything about it. It doesn't become illegal. Yeah. So I want to ask, how do you guys think that, like, the rise in social media from the end of the 90s to now, how do you feel like this has affected intellectual property rights or the ethics behind just taking a picture without someone's permission, with the exception of minors? There's a set of rules for minors, and there's a real reason for that. But what do you guys think of that? How do you feel that social media has affected this? Okay. Well, I personally feel that the rise in social media has greatly affected this. For instance, I remember a time where it was just a staple that if you did a video of anything, you had permission of everyone. Like, we had signed contracts for everything. Okay, someone has answered. I know there's software that picks up copyright issues with someone who uses another person's work and won't get paid. Yeah, there are a couple of things out there that will kind of scan websites for stuff just to see if it's being used. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. But it literally will go through like a Google server, which Google keeps a copy of every web page on their server. That's so they can be cached into memory. We'll talk about that when we talk about memory in about 2 weeks. But pretty much, it's like taking a snapshot of it at that current time. So in case something happens to connections, it still can be reached. Or if some connections are blocked, you can still go to the cache to get it. Or if the website gets taken down, it'll still be in that server for a set time, so that person could get their stuff if they needed to. But anyway, there's different softwares that will allow you to go through to see if anything's been taken up. And like in YouTube, what was that?
It's like the same way with music, like copywriting music.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like
This
the
is
same laws apply as like if you're taking a picture of somebody or stuff like that.
yeah. If you make the music, it's yours. But if you like I mentioned earlier, if you take like Kanye West when he had the samples, he used fair use for some of those. Other ones he had to pay for using those samples. But actually, if someone just mentioned in the chat, like in YouTube, if someone makes a video and uses a song for 5+ seconds, they will not get monetized because of that song. Which is true because there's an infringement there. Do they have permission to use that song? If they don't have permission to use that song, they shouldn't be using it, even if it's 1 second of it. If someone can pick up on that, then it's over. So I know that some YouTubers would even talk about in their videos how they used to give credit for songs, and then they started getting flagged, and they thought it was crap because it would be in their description of their video. They would say song from blah blah blah, or they'll do that and put it in the video, saying it or having it just appear at the bottom, and they still would get in trouble. And the reason for that was because there was nothing set in stone saying they have permission. And a lot of times, people assume that, oh, I said where I got it from. That's good enough. No. I don't know if anyone's YouTube abridger or is a fan of those, but like Team 4-Star, Little Karibo, how many times did they get hit over and over again? Every episode since the beginning of any of their series, they start off with, the following is a nonprofit, who it comes from. They list every person that owns it, and they say go support the official release and all that. Well, what happens? They get taken down. They get sued. It still happens. Because of the boost in sales, like with the Dragon Ball stuff with like Team 4-Star, because of their boost in sales, they didn't harp on them as much until later. Probably because things went down. Because their sales went down, so they then went back to go against them. But like with Little Karibo and Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge, there was a big thing. It would be constantly, yeah. So yeah, someone else watched Dragon Ball Bridge, okay, cool. But there was a constant like fight with 4Kids TV and even the company in Japan. I forgot which the name was of the owner of Yu-Gi-Oh! I want to say it's Toei, but I don't think it is Toei. But yeah, they would get in trouble constantly, and they would have to get taken down, and then they would have to go to court sometimes too. It was crazy. Well, we would think it's crazy because we're being entertained by it, and they, under fair use, they are doing a parody of the original work. So, oh, it's okay. But remember, fair use does not hold up in court at all. So, yeah. But I do feel that the use of social media has definitely, it was worth it. Yes, Dragon Ball Bridge is a great way. 4Kids didn't translate things very well. I grew up on the 4Kids stuff. It was fun, and they didn't translate it the best way. Some things were like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like the donuts being rice balls or rice balls being donuts and stuff. But yeah, it was still a good time. They did their best. There are worse dubs done by companies in America than 4Kids. I hate to say, but it's the truth. Um, but yeah, I'm glad some of you are fans. It's something you can relate to. But that's a real issue. And you can look at, because there was like 6 abridgers to like start off with on YouTube, and that became a huge thing. And they do contests and stuff. There's still a ton of content online, but all of it technically is illegal, no matter how much permission they give, unless they have actual permission or they see a Creative Commons license on someone else's work originally, which guess what? It's not going to be there, especially for the animes. Yeah, and it just is what it is. Yeah, but so you all be careful when you are taking content from someone else or another source. Someone unmuted. Does someone have something else to say? Oh, okay. Because this is a hot topic to me. At least I think you guys can kind of relate. Or you definitely can relate. I will say I usually do a poll too here, like blind vote in class, for people to be honest. Like, how many of you have probably done an infringement of copyright? You don't have to say it now because we're on video and it's recorded. But just think about that. There probably are some times in the past where you have committed copyright infringement, but you didn't know, right? And it might not even be in regards to doing a homework assignment or something for a school project. There could be tons of things that you may have done, and it's like, oh, I didn't realize I did that. Playing a song, and I know TikTok's not a thing anymore, or not the TikTok is the thing. It's not Divine anymore, or whatever it was. But how many people, throw a song on their little 6-second video? They have permission to do that, really? Huh. And then also, how deep does this go? I know that there's some cases that have been won with fair use because of a song being played in the background that is like almost impossible to even detect. But I guess the video, it was a video got like really big once, and then the artist of that song was like, "Hey, my song's playing in that. You don't have my permission." And they fought with it. It's like, you can't even tell the song's there. I was just like doing stuff. Like, the whole point of the video is what I'm doing, not your song. And the artist won, and they got paid for it. They got royalties for it because their song was being used in the video. However, it was not really being used in the video. It just happened to be there. So I'm sure everyone in life, I feel like, has done something that would be against the law in this regards. We're not going to go turn ourselves into the police or anything, but it is something to be aware of, and just to be careful with. Now, the other side of that is, how do you know if something is a credible source? So there's this thing called a CRAP test. Those of you that have taken an English course may have heard about this. I have heard more recently that these are not even as effective anymore. But pretty much the purpose of this CRAP test is to see if something is credible or crap, aptly named. So, but CRAP isn't C-R-A-P, it's C-R-A-A-P. And what that stands for is current, relevant, authoritative, accurate, and purposeful. So does the article or the thing that you're using, is it current information? I'll give you an example of this. So when I teach my Python class, which is a computer programming language, very popular one used throughout the country or throughout the world in many different ways and different medias. But whenever I am like looking at new documentation on it, or if I am like having trouble coding something or debugging, and I go to a site to try to get assistance with it, I look for something that has the year 2019 or 2020 on it. But some things are from 2015, and they may be accurate, but I want to look for the most current, up to date, right? That way it'll probably be closer to my issue, especially when I'm programming in Swift for iOS development. So whenever you're making an Apple app, they change their stuff like all the time. Like, they just changed their version last year, and they just changed it again over the summer. Like, that's 1 year. That's crazy. And they have so much stuff that was already broken that was obvious. And you have all these workarounds, and then they say they fix it, but then they make it worse or it doesn't work again. But it's really important, like, for that instance, for me to make sure my stuff is current. Relevant. Does it relate to what the topic that you're using or what it is that you're actually looking for? Authoritative. Does the person that wrote it or is presenting the material have the authority to really do so? And that doesn't necessarily even have to deal with like the intellectual property right of it, but authoritative in this sense is more of like, if a biology teacher came into this class and began to talk about the CIS, you could listen to everything they say, and they might know what they're talking about, but they don't necessarily have the authoritative right to do so because they're not a subject matter expert. And they really could be. They could know more than a person that is a CIS faculty member, but because of their title and position, they don't really have the authority to do so. Is it accurate? So how correct is it? So based off what you already know, maybe look at the comments of things. Sometimes when I'm looking at articles online, actually, I always do that. Even with YouTube videos, if I'm looking at something, first thing I usually do is I'll listen to like the first part of it, pause it, and go down and look at the comments, so I can see stuff. But you can use the comments to see how accurate something is, and then purposeful. Does it fit the purpose of what it is that you need to do as a source? Does it fit the purpose of what the video says it is? So these are ways you can test that. And then there's some guidelines here in the PDF that I gave you. Now you can click and download this, or You can click this to preview it here within Canvas. And so yeah, it gives some questions to kind of ask yourself while you are going through evaluating whether or not a source is a good source or not. And so for this assignment, you are to provide an example of your favorite news source. And I'm going to talk about this actually in a second. But here's some questions to ask for you to answer. Have you ever violated copyright laws? Have changes in society and technology blurred the lines of copyright and fair use? How do you know if a source is credible or not? That's kind of what you talk about using the CRAP test. And you might have some other ways that you personally do this. How will you filter through sources to get as close to truth as possible? How do you think you feel if someone used your creative work? Would it make a difference whether they did the following? Did they ask permission to use it? Did they give you credit as the creator? Did they change the picture or to add a caption without asking you? So, and this might help you decide, like, if you ever want to use Creative Commons, these are questions you can ask yourself. Do I want them to ask permission before they use it? So that you don't need to have Creative Commons license on there at all. If you don't care if they ask for permission, then do you want them to make sure to give you credit? Okay, then Creative Commons license, BY. You care if they change or add captions, they make any changes to it. If you do care and you don't want it to happen, then it becomes non-derivative, meaning you want no changes. Or you could not make it non-derivative and leave it alone. So, so if we got a question here. So if you use something that has a Creative Commons license on it, do you still have to give credit for the creator? Yes, that BY automatically says that you have to give credit to the creator. Now, technically that link will take care of that for you. So for instance, if I embed like the YouTube videos I embed in the course, they have the license. I don't have to put that they have the license on top of that. Like I don't have to write that underneath it within Canvas. It'd probably be nicer if I did. But also many of those sources, as you kind of saw, like if you look back at the story of electronics page at the bottom of it, that license came directly from them. But even within that license was a link back to them. So it automatically gives that credit with that link. So to answer your question, yes. But also it may not be any extra work for you because by you putting it there, that license is already there and already has a credit linked to it. Okay. Now the first part of this though, I said I want you to provide your favorite news source with the title, a brief description, and a citation. So some of you may have done citations or cited your sources before in your English classes, and some people use different websites to do this and things like that. Well, there's a tool that you all have access to called Microsoft Word that will allow you to do citations automatically. I gave you some links to show you how, but I'm going to show you a example right now. Okay. So within Microsoft Word, once you open up a blank document, for instance, or if you're working on something, this is called the ribbon, the blue part up here up top. There'll be different colors for each application. We'll get more into that as we move forward with using these applications. But go away. First of all, I would like to go to the reference tab. These are called tabs. Within each tabs are groups, and each group is named at the bottom of it. You can kind of see how they're divided up. See those little vertical bars? If we look at the citations and bibliography group, there are a couple of commands here that we can use to do citations. For one, you could change the style. I believe it's 27 or 23 different versions in here that are available. APA, MLA, those are probably the most common ones that you all have heard used throughout your educational careers. Chicago is another popular one, usually used by many journalists. APA is usually used by people try to say like scientists, and then these are for your English papers, and these are if you're doing any journaling. But there are lots of different ones to use. It will depend on your class that you're in, which one you did use. But what you can do is also, if you click this, it'll literally insert a bibliography into your document. So what you can do is manage your sources by adding different sources in here. I could say a new source. I could say, oh, well, I'm getting information from any of these. I tend to do a website or a book. And I put the author's name in here. I'll give a title for my web page, the official name of the website, the year that it was created, the month. I put the URL here. There's more things available too. If I do show all, it'll show me which ones are required that I have to put in here. And there's other things as well. So, but once I did that, it would be saved, and then I could insert it by a new source. Or I could just click insert and it would insert the most recent citation. Okay, so if you did that, I'll just make up one so you guys can see an example website. Put my name in here. My full page. Our main page. Let's do that. Main page. Website. Christopher's site. 20. I'm just making up stuff, guys. So don't think too much into this. Put today on there. www.christopherschool. Okay. Notice here, it'll give me a preview of what it looks like in APA format. So if I insert citation, boom, there it is already there. And so that would be if I like took a quote from that site, I could put this afterwards. And then at the end of my document, when I finish my article, now that I've been loading in those sources each time, I can just go up here and click this, and it'll automatically put my bibliography. Another part is I can update it. So as I add more things to it and click that, it'll automatically update. I can also change what type it is, if it's going to be a works cites list instead. And it'll change the formats as needed. Change the style to MLA. It changes it automatically. So Word makes it a lot easier to do this. You can use a site if you want to, if you have a tool or some people download a separate app for this. I still never understood why. Like specialized apps are cool because they are specifically for like one or two purposes, whereas these applications are like Word has so many different things you can do with it. But as you can see, probably going to be more beneficial, especially if you were writing a paper or something, using Word, because as you type your paper, you get, oh, I have a new source. I got this quote from this source. Add it in there, and it'll automatically be put into your bibliography when you click bibliography at the end. And if you realize that, oh, I need to do APA, you could switch it, and it automatically will make that change for you. You don't ever have to worry about going back through and making changes or anything like that. Or if your instructor's like, oh, you need to do Chicago style now, you don't have to do that either. So, all right. So any questions in regards to the citation tool? So the purpose of this part is for you guys to use that tool in Word or in some other way, but so you can understand and be used to citing your sources. That will be very important to you, especially with your portfolio. Some of you have done, I have given credit to people in your article, or not articles, in your reflections. Some of you have not, right? But maybe it's because everything you had was original, or I don't know, or maybe you just didn't know that you should do that. So, yeah, well, it looks like some people have already begun to answer. That's good. Okay. Well, next topic, and man, this is like honestly like the favorite for people. I definitely suggest going in and looking at each of these videos. The information security. You want to keep your data and information secure. There are tons of different softwares out there that will help you with this. There are tons of seminars about things that you can do for yourself. You know, as I mentioned with many HR programs to do like a human firewall. How do you keep things protected? What do you need to do so? And it all really comes down to physical information security, authentication, and then protecting your data. So how you do that, there are some different things talked about in these videos that will be very helpful to you. But just think about this. For instance, how many of you, and we're at home now, so this is probably actually more likely to happen, but you probably are much safer at home doing this. But how many of you have like been working on a computer and then you get up to go use the restroom or get up to go get a snack, and you leave your computer unlocked or still on? So it's not shut down, it's not even locked, might not even be sleep or hibernation, because you're just gone for a quick sec, right? You know, a lot of people do that, right? Well, it doesn't take long for someone to come along and, yeah, it doesn't take long for someone to come along and get into your stuff then, right? They could email something to themselves to give access to it. They could plug in a USB, do all kinds of things. And now they have access to your login and into your information. Or how many of you have found a USB and you're like, oh, who's this belong to? Well, I can figure it out if I plug it into my computer and then take a look to see like maybe a paper or something's on here so I can get it returned to the right person. Hey, good job being a good citizen. However, by you doing so, you have opened yourself up to possibly being hacked or being infiltrated. We talk also how like some people will they don't check the USB slots on a computer that they're using sometimes. I think I mentioned how someone could they have these readers that key readers. They read your keystrokes and what you enter in, so that people can see what your logins information is, so they can get into that. Sometimes people ask for information. They may say, you may get an email saying that they represent the school. They may even say at maricopa.edu at the end, or it may look like it does. It may say at maricapa.edu. Someone made up a website, or it may say at Maricopa, but say .com. And you may think, oh, this must be from one of the schools or something. And it's not, because our emails are at .edu. They're very specific. Well, that has tricked many people in the past, and sometimes it's not. They recognize it, but it's too late. They've already opened the email or they've already replied to it. Phishing is a big thing too. That you write an article that looks like normal, or you get access to someone else's account. So say one of you left your computer on to go use the restroom. I go in, send an email from your thing to everyone in the school, saying, "Hey, I know this is probably not appropriate, but I'm selling a house or I'm selling a car, and if you guys are interested in looking at it, click this link below. It'll tell you more about it." Right? Okay, so that's not appropriate, and you'll probably get some backlash. But what people really don't realize is that that email link that they click actually will send them to a site that will automatically download a virus onto their computer. These are things that are actually happen, and it's not. I'm not saying it for you to be fearful. It's to be aware of what could potentially go wrong when you're too free with your personal items. Okay, or you have a girlfriend and she needs to use your phone real quick. You're like, oh, just here's the password. Okay, now you've given her access to everything on that phone. Same thing for the ladies, if you know, on the other side of that. But that's just an example. But giving your information away. Oh, it's my best friend, and oh, I need you to log into my computer real quick and print something off. I'm stuck down here. Oh, okay, tell me your password real quick. Even if they don't do anything, they still know it, and so that makes them makes it susceptible for someone else to get it, because they have to just slip vote one time, and then now someone else knows your information. So got to be real careful with that. Definitely watch these videos though. Another thing is, like, when you get rid of technology, most people don't wipe their memory. Factory reset is not always enough. People will say it is. I've had other students that will say that, oh, I know someone's a software engineer said if you just factory reset it, that's enough. There's not that much that's left on there for anyone to get to. Well, there's a lot of technology out there to help people build things, put things back together. For instance, when you like delete something on your computer, it actually like blows it up into little fragments across. We'll talk more about that later, but it'll blow it up across that storage system, so across the hard drive. And all you got to do is really just put those pieces back together, and now I can get the original. So there are certain things you should actually do. Like if you have a computer that you're getting rid of, you should do all that though. You should wipe it. Some people use magnets on top of that because that helps break it up even further with the defragmentation. And drilling holes in it, going all Office Space on it. I don't know if any of you seen that movie where they're beating up the printer, or seen a video of they're beating up the printer. It's called Office Space. It's great. It's microwave it. I've heard that too. But yeah, if you do all of those things, but not just like one or two of them, you should do all of them. If you do, I'm not going to condone that you go out and put an electrical device in a microwave or radioactive materials, just because it could explode. But if you want to do it out in a safe environment to make sure it will be completely gone, go right ahead. But yeah, you want to do all that you can to make sure it's good and gone. And I've seen people say that, oh, okay, I'll just go, set it on fire and like call it done. And then information gets stolen because someone goes over and they don't realize how that casing holds things together very well. So yeah, you wanna make sure you utterly destroy something. So like I said, the wiping it, deleting it, resetting it completely after that. The magnet thing is another one. Drilling holes into it, smashing it, and then burning it. Those are all good things. Now, will burning it be good for the environment? Maybe not. So that's something to be aware of too. Microwaving it could cause an explosion. So yeah. So, and then there's more here. We learned from last class the videos you guys don't all hear very well, so I'm not gonna play them. I normally would, but I'm not. So play that on your own so you can see some other things here too. So people are getting smarter with this. There's a way for, like, when you use your car, and you are to do I forgot to call it remoteless start, or when you even lock and unlock your car, that sends out a signal. People can pick up those frequencies, and that's all they need. There was a couple of scams going across the country at one point at gas stations, where they would go to a gas station and they could read people's credit cards from the other side. So when people put their credit card in, to pay, they would just sit there for a little bit waiting, and they're actually reading it through the other side. And so then they have your credit card information. There are a couple of different things people have done recently. Again, this is not to be fearful. Don't be fearful of this. There are a lot of precautions that you'll probably already taken that you don't even realize, but you just want to be aware of people around you and things like that. I bought something once offline using my credit card, and I got a call like the next day saying that my card had been canceled. And the reason was because they saw an outstanding. It was like I bought something from someone like on eBay, and it was like within the next hour or two, there was like another $100 charge for another item. I was like, I didn't buy two things, and they're like, yeah, we thought it was kind of strange to buy from the exact same person in that fashion, so we just flagged it and we wanted to contact you. So that person had taken they had taken that one transaction and they modified it so you can get more. So it's just things to be aware of. And there are things built into your computer to help you as well. You have some protection. Network security comes in with most people's computers. McAfee's another. But the most preventive thing that you can do is just be aware of what you do on your computer. What kind of websites do you go to? What do you download? Are you sure it's coming from a trusted source? How do you use your computer? Where do you use it? Do you lock it? If you have a Windows computer, if you press the Windows key and don't do it now because you'll be caught hot. But you press the Windows key and L, it'll lock your computer so that you can walk away real quick, and you have to log back into it. When I was a software developer, that was a standard. We were told to do that, and if you didn't, someone would come in and mess with your computer because you left it unlocked. It would happen. It would happen like a couple times because people would forget, people would slip up because we're human. But it would always be a fun time. But the point of that was for us to be more secure with our way into the company servers because we had a very secure server and network, and it was hard to get into. So, but it's really easy to get into something if people leave their things unlocked. So it's just like leaving an open door. So there's a saying back in Georgia that if you don't want anyone to break into your house, you put an ADT sign out front. That was one of the security companies. And then you lock your door, and then when you go to sleep you turn off all the lights, and then when you go to sleep at night, you lock your door to your room and close all your blinds. The reason for that saying was because those are all different precautions to keep people from going in. They see the ADT sign first, it may deter them. They come to your door and your door is unlocked, they're probably just going to go right in. If it's locked, it makes it harder for them to do. Double locked, even harder. Lights off, it's harder to see. You lock your own room, it's harder for them to get directly to you. Blinds closed, they can't see what's going on inside, so it makes it a little weird for them. So all of those things are precautions, and that's all this is about, just taking precautions and what measurements you can take to make sure that you're safe and your data and information is safe. So please go back and look at those videos again. They're going to be very helpful and educational to you. So literally the favorite part of this week, and some people say it's like their favorite part, at least in the first 5 weeks of the course, is just this one part of this one assignment. Go into this website, haveibeenpwned.com. This is a site you enter in your email, and it'll give you a list of different things that may have been hacked that had that information. And the reason that they know that is because when people have been hacked, that information has been made public knowledge to let people know that, hey, your information was leaked. So this site will tell you that. So I know there's one year I had some students in the class that they were like, I'm not gonna have anything, and they had like 11 infractions, and what they were all really from one source because they shopped at Bloomingdale's, which was owned by Macy's. They shopped on the website, and or they bought from a subsidiary, I think, of them. So another company that they owned, and therefore they had all these different stores that it says had their information leaked. And they're like, I haven't even shopped there, but what it was from the other one. And they didn't even realize it. Someone else in this class once found out that someone was using their card and they didn't know it, but they found out because of this. So it's a great site to go in, put in your personal email so you can make sure everything's on up and up in there. But yeah, so we got a minute left. So are there any questions?
12:46.
Yeah. I'm going by the school clock, so I still got 12:44. But for some of you, it's been over a minute, and you're probably ready to go. So I understand. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about. It. I mean, like I said, this is usually like the class where people talk the most because they have a lot of fun. I went to one of those sites and found out that someone used my email to make a MySpace account. Yeah. See, yeah, it's very helpful. I try to do it at least once a year. It was first mentioned to me when I became a faculty member at South Mountain. They told us that we should do it quite often, so I do it at least once a year, just to check. But yeah, you never know. You never know. But yeah, all right. Well, that's 12:45, and if you have been hit and you're comfortable talking about it, I know some of you already have, but do so in this reflection. And then I'll talk about ePortfolio on Wednesday. As I said, I'll try to do a video to put up on Monday. But you guys enjoy your weekend. enjoy your Labor Day. Yeah, being labor free, barbecuing, while social distancing and all that. Whatever you do, or just sleep in. But have fun. If you need to stay a little bit after us to talk, please do. And I will see you guys on next Wednesday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Labor Day.
Have a great.
Have a good
Bye.
one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Professor Stevens,